Landon, Botang, and Tunde. Landon and Botang are both third-year engineering students, and Tunde graduated from a computer science course last summer. And they're going to pitch to you their startup, which is called Cluttr.
All right. Yeah.
Hi Dragons, I'm Tunde.
I'm Botang.
And I'm Landon.
And we're excited to pitch to you Cluttr, an app that we think holds the key to harmony in shared houses. So I'd like to start by telling you a story. Last summer, Botang and I traveled to Mountain View, California, where we spent 3 months interning at Google. We got a 2-bedroom apartment, and soon after we began to experience some problems that everyone who lives in a shared house will be familiar with. Botang and I both paid for separate bills and would lose track of how much we owed each other. We'd also lose track of tasks that needed to be done in the house, whose turn it was, what items the house needed, and this was only a small portion of the problems we had. We tried to find an app dedicated to housemates, but we couldn't find anything apart from apps like Splitwise, which only solved a part of the problem. So that is 15 million housemates in the UK alone that has been ignored. So we set out to create a solution that will make living in shared houses more comfortable, desirable, and peaceful.
Cluttr acts as the control center for housemates, and there are 4 core features. Firstly, our bill management feature, which helps keep track of money being borrowed between housemates. This builds a clear picture of who owes what. Secondly, our scheduling feature, which allows housemates to schedule chores and rotate them, that we notify when it's their turn to do something. Thirdly, our shopping list feature, which will allow users to gauge what they or the house might require during any given week. And if the user decides to purchase an item, they can then split the cost of that among their housemates. And lastly, our messaging feature, which allows users to talk about household issues from the same platform without having to navigate away or cluttering up their other message boards on other social media. But this is just the start, the tip of the iceberg. We have many more features ready to roll out, including our user statistics and machine learning-driven recommendations. And we'd love to show you a demo at the end of the pitch.
So what have we done so far? We released the first version of the app in January of this year for iOS and Android and have gained about 1,000 users so far. We have over 300 people opening our app daily in about 150 houses spread across 5 different countries. Our users really love Cluttr. We have over 4.5-star rating on the app stores, and we have people messaging us on Facebook telling us how easy Cluttr's made managing house affairs. What makes these numbers really impressive is that we've achieved this organically with almost no cost. This is because of the viral feature of Cluttr. For every user we get about 3 more since they invite all their housemates. We also appear in the top 5 search results for housemates app on the App Store.
So how do we make money? Well, there are two core monetization strategies for Cluttr, and the first is advertising. Through the use of our shopping list feature, we have to gauge what items people are purchasing and when they're buying them. Secondly, through the payments feature, we can gauge what companies people are using for their utility bills and how much they're paying for them. With this data, we can allow companies to run targeted ad campaigns for advertising, machine learning-driven recommendations. As Botang said, we have just hit over 1,000 users and growing at a rate of 80 users per day. If we assume a linear growth trajectory, by this time next year, we will have over 75,000 users worldwide, but more importantly, 25,000 active daily users. So if we estimate an ad impression will make us 2 pence and up to 27p per click, we have estimated we can make up to £65,000 per month by next December. This will make us completely self-sufficient after only 1 year.
Okay, so the second strategy is through pay transfer. So we plan to develop a feature that will allow housemates to settle all their payments with the tap of one button. So with the convenience this will provide, we plan to take a transaction fee of 3%. So our first 800 users settled over £200,000 in the first 4 months. So if we took a 3% cut of this, we would have made £6,000 in 4 months. So since we're projecting to get 75,000 users by the end of next year, we've predicted that they're going to settle over £15 million in the app, which means we could make over 450,000 if we take a 3% cut. So apps like Splitwise, have saw 50 billion being split in their app in 2016. And we've already seen users leaving apps that are similar to Splitwise to come to Cluttr. So there's definitely a huge potential for pay transfer here.
So who are we? I've been developing Android apps for about 5 years now. I've interned twice in Google, and I've worked on the Google Maps app and the Gmails app. I've been developing mobile apps for the last 6 years, and I run my own YouTube channel where I teach mobile development to an audience of 2.3 million viewers. And I've also written code for 2 Google apps that have reached millions.
I personally have been writing applications on iOS and web for the past 2.5 years, including fintech and IoT applications. But most recently, I've just finished an application for the University of Southampton.
We're asking for £50,000 in return for 15% of our company. This will help keep us afloat for the next year and also help us reach our milestone of 75,000 users. With house prices increasing and more people moving into shared houses, we think this is the time for Cluttr.
We hope you share our desire to make living in shared houses more comfortable, desirable, and peaceful. Thank you.
And we'd love to show you a demo. Hello. So just a quick... So this is just the place where people, where everything goes on. So you'll get notified when stuff is to clean, when when the landlord's coming next day, you can create a post just like Facebook, and everyone will get updated through notifications. We then have all our tasks, so they're all scheduled for different days and to different people, and you can see the upcoming tasks as well. Currently there are none, but then we have payments, for example. So we can see, for example, I am owed £64, and this is how much I owe, and it gives a breakdown of these costs as well. Sorry. And then on top of this, I can then see a breakdown from each individual user, how much I've been spending in the past. I get everything from Ubers to Pret, and then we can go into supplies. For example, I have a breakfast list here, which I have a solo meal, and I have oats, sugar, and milk, and I have notes saying breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But we can have multiple. You can have shared groups, for example, so we know recipes for recipes for cakes for any meal, and then you can then purchase the item through this and then split it among the household. So that is the main core functionality of our application currently.
Okay. So, great pitch, guys. Really good. Sonia, I think we've all got experience in sharing houses, sharing flats. What do you think of Cluttr? Any thoughts?
I think I have shared houses for probably like 8 to 10 years in my life, so I'm familiar with these things. This was before smartphones, basically, right. So it's interesting. I downloaded your app actually, and I played around with it last night. And it's and also with a competitor, which I think they do exist. There's one called Flatastic, if you know about them, and it looks like exactly the same interface. Yours is just much better, and I found yours much easier to use than them. So I think you've done a really good job there. Well done. Do GDPR affect you at all?
What does that mean for you?
Oh, no, I know what it is. What? In terms of right now we only ask for the data we need from the users. So right now we only have your email and I guess your password and your name. We would only ask for data when we need it, such as we need the person's country to determine the time zone to know when to send them notifications. And in terms of recommending them items, it would just be using items they buy. So things like, it wouldn't be personal information. It would just be like, oh, you just pay for Virgin Media Internet. Therefore, maybe next year we might recommend you Sky Internet. So it's information that we would tell our users clearly that this is what information we're taking from you and we're going to use this to recommend ads. We don't really ask for any personal information apart from your name and I guess your country.
Okay, so as the Chief Compliance Officer, you're comfortable that GDPR, you're not taking the data that will make you fall under that?
No, not right now. We're not, and we believe that we will in the future.
Okay, and so the other thing about house shares, and normally you share house to save money for one reason. Do you think students are happy to pay 3% commission? So I guess this is not the retailer that gives you 3% kickback commission. This is a 3% charge on top of the amount owed. So I owe £10, but I actually have to pay my friend £10.30 because that 30p goes somewhere else.
Yeah. So we actually ran an experiment and we used PayPal to, we activated a feature that allowed people to pay each other in the app using PayPal. And we ran that experiment for about 3 days. And we saw 3 payments go through with a total of about £35. So that was assuring. And also we've looked at things like PayPal, which actually take 3% transaction fee when the money is coming straight from your credit card. And people still use PayPal because of the convenience it provides. Rather than having to put in your bank details, your account number, you could just enter a username and password. And we believe the convenience that this brings with just the tap of one button, that people would actually use this feature. And
in addition to that is the fact that we could accumulate your costs and the amount that you owe someone over time, so you wouldn't have to continuously pay someone back. You could wait maybe until into a period maybe when you had some more money, and we tell you, then you could, for example, if you got to £500 when you owed someone, then we would settle it for you, for example. So you wouldn't have to do it every time. It would just be one transaction.
Sorry, I'm actually a little bit lost now. So the payments get processed through Cluttr. So in Cluttr, so you actually own, you keep the cash.
No.
So we haven't developed the payments feature. So we can either develop our own peer-to-peer system, which is possible, or we can use existing. For example, Venmo in the USA started off as their own company, and then they got bought by PayPal. So they use PayPal's technology. Likewise, we can either decide to develop our own technology or use an existing one that already exists. So either way, the user will be paying directly to each other. Cluttr will not hold any money.
Or any bank details.
Okay, thanks.
I'd like to ask you about the different features that you have. So I spoke to my daughter when I knew I was coming here and asked her. She lives in a house with 3 others, and I said, well, how do you split bills? And she said, well, one bill comes in, one person pays it, and they divide it by 4, and then everybody sends the money. Is it that hard to do splitting bills?
The problem with doing it that way is that it leads to awkward conversations. So you have to go to your housemates and ask them, hey, can you pay me back? And if they haven't paid you back after 3 days, you have to go and have that awkward conversation again. And as someone who's lived in shared houses for 4 years at university, that can cause arguments and cause rifts between the bestest of friends. So yeah, we believe that the way it's done right now is not the best way. And the way we're doing it right now will definitely avoid arguments, and it's a lot smoother.
But so explain to me how that works then, because does somebody still have to pay the bill and then enter the information onto Cluttr, and then the others still need to pay? So what happens if they don't pay?
So when you sign up for the app, you can put in all the bills that the house takes. So for example, your internet bills. And every month, what happens is that Cluttr will automatically give a notification to everyone in the app saying the bill is due, and you need to you need to give the money to the person who's paying the bills. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
So talk to me about the other features. And bill splitting is the primary one, would you say? What are the other features that your users like?
Well, we have the shopping list feature, which has at the moment, 500 items being stored in. Currently, people have made over 500 items on our shopping list, which we find is quite amazing, because seeing as this is what we want to try and use to try and recommend people in the future, it's nice that we can see a growth in that.
We also have the chores feature, which is the main thing. That's one of the reasons why people download Cluttr is to do chores, because chores is the most awkward one. Like whose turn is next to clean the bins? But with Cluttr, we send daily notification if it's your turn. I'm gonna say, good morning, it's your turn to do this, and we send that every single day, and people know that it's your turn to do it. So we housemates don't have to communicate anymore. You just have to open the app and you know that, you just have to open it up and know that, okay, it's this person's turn if they haven't done it.
Okay, and then just one other question then. Have you, because I'm also a little bit skeptical about the percentage, adding a transaction fee to make a payment to one of your housemates, but have you thought of just, making a charge for the app? And what do you feel about that?
Yeah, we've considered, like a freemium feature where we have more features where people would pay to use it, or for example have limits on what people can use. So those are all possibilities we're considering. Yeah, but the payments feature, we know for sure we can also, even if it's not a fixed percentage, like a fixed 3% percentage as we are at this point, there's therefore the possibility to make money, because that's how Venmo and PayPal all make money. So there's a possibility that it might change, but at this point we're thinking of that 3%.
So, I guess, first of all, well done. It seems pretty cool to me. I have to say that the 1,000 user number, even though I saw your chart where it kind of picks up, is 1,000 a lot or not a lot? I mean, it's quite a lot, I guess. And you could believe that it'll go, viral, as you say, that for every person who uses it, they're going to tell 3 of their friends, and then suddenly,
And then the next year they'll all get new houses, and then that's 3 more people. So.
Yeah, yes, exactly, yes. And I can see, a tremendous number of, things, things you can tap into, like for food. I know that one thing I used a while back was you get, you put the actual item from a supermarket, and then you get the calories and all this kind of information somehow. I mean, better than I.
So that's a feature we actually have in the coming up. So it's basically the shopping list right now allows you to enter everything that the house needs, and you can basically update it when the house runs out of these items. So a feature that we've been thinking of is basically automatically ordering this from your local Sainsbury's.
And then the other thing is, which could be quite powerful, is the relationship between the house, because presumably everybody in the house has to be using the app, and the letting agent. So it'd be like, this light bulb needs fixing, or those sorts of things. And we had something similar to that, if you recall, a couple of years ago, which didn't really go anywhere. But I can see that being quite a powerful thing. And then I think back to Andy's thing about, and then you could even see yourself getting into the whole chain of, if you've got an accurate description of the actual location. So let's say you three guys share. By the way, I think you should be three guys, and you need to find a lady to work on your team, because I think but seriously, because I think I'm assuming that lots of shared houses have women involved, and so we don't want, there may be other considerations about, cleaning may not be once a month, kind of thing. So, anyhow, maybe I shouldn't say that. No. Yes, so I can see. I mean, it's one of the, you're almost in the position where you could have an app that could it really take off, and you can just find the really compelling thing that means that word of mouth does make it go viral. Then you'd be in this incredibly strong position to actually, because so you're three guys, the guys in the house, and then about the house. Then the previous thing was they had little maps of the house and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, so I'm thinking about it, but I'm pretty upbeat about this whole thing.
I don't know if there was a question there at all, actually.
No, there's just some feedback there. Feedback.
No, it's great feedback. Anyone got Nick?
Guys, great presentation, lots of energy, very compelling as a trio. I like the concept. I've also lived in enough shared houses, but I'm struggling to get past Andy's concern. I owe you £5, and Clutter's told me I owe you £5 at the end of the month, and I didn't clean the toilet yesterday. What's Cluttr going to do about it?
So with the as regards to for example, a chore, if someone tells you to do a chore and you don't do it, it's sort of like on a social media application, it can get lost within all the messages, and you can argue that you'd forgotten about it, right? But then on a Cluttr, you have to complete the task. So everyone knows that you, like me, Landon, I have not done that task, and everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm scrolling through Cluttr. You were supposed to do this," and we're gonna, they're all gonna they're gonna shame you. Basically, at the end of the day, it's not gonna be very pretty. It's gonna be awkward, but it'll be less awkward. It's more desirable than your standard household, right? Where you just leave the sink and it's just unclean for days.
I get it's a softer way and a less confrontational way of getting your mates to do stuff. Maybe it's more a reflection on me or my friends who I shared houses with, or maybe they've just got really thick skin. But I would stand there and say, "Listen, you owe me £6. Yeah, I'll get you that next week," or whatever it was. Yeah. So I'm really struggling to get past the. It was bad enough trying to do it when I'm in their face saying, "Can you? It's your turn to take the bins out. Can you just go and bloody do it?" And they still, yeah, I'll do it, and then they don't do it.
Yeah. I think what makes Cluttr a solution to the problem you're speaking about is that I've lived in a very messy house. You don't want to see my house last year. It was disgusting, basically. But the problem is that when you go to someone and say, "Hey, it's your turn to do this," they'll be like, "Is it? Is it really my turn?" Or you owe me £10. "No, I think you owe me £10 though." And I think that cancels out. So you have problems like this, and with Cluttr, you can basically look at the app, and you can be able to solve arguments like this without having to think about stuff, having to remember what happened 3 weeks ago. Did you pay for my Uber while I was drunk and stuff like that? So yeah.
And also, I would like to add on, there's actually housemates out there who are really passionate about doing a thing, and they actually need a tool to help them. So my first internship, I interned in Switzerland, where I lived with a group of 21 flatmates, and they were all keen on doing house chores. I'd get people knocking on my door and telling me, "Yo, it's your turn," and I'll actually go do it. So there's actually the other part of the world where, or the other side of people where people actually are keen to doing it and they just need a tool to help them do it as opposed to doing a route on the fridge or something.
I have one more thing to add to that. It's just the fact that it might not be, as you said, like your mates could come up to you and they can confront you about it. But the fact that with Cluttr, it's just proof. It's just that lovely proof that you can see, and you're like, okay, well, I definitely owe you that much, and I definitely owe you this much, and there's nothing you can say about it.
Yeah,
so that's the you.
Yeah, so that's a good shout. It definitely takes the "no, I paid you that back 2 weeks ago" excuse out of the equation. So I get that.
So time is ticking on. Lots of questions. I'm going to start having to push you a little bit now.
I just had a question. The user growth. What happened? Was it 2 weeks ago that suddenly it sort of shot up?
So we released a new update, and we constantly said every time we release a new update, we have like a boost in growth. Because, like I said, people are always searching for this solution, and that's how they find out about us. So if we release a new update, and our recent update was like the best one we had yet, which was about last 2 weeks. And so the thing is, when people go on the app and they realize that, oh, this actually solved my problem, then they all invite their housemates. So with our viral feature, that's what caused it for our users to increase in the past week.
So can I ask about the cash then? How much cash do you need? What are you going to use the cash for?
So we're asking for 50,000 for 15% of our company, and a large majority of it will go towards actually all of us living full-time next year, as Boateng and I are graduating this year, and Tunde is in need of, well, a salary, essentially. That would be around £20,000, plus living up to 30. But then the majority of it will go towards advertising, and obviously maintenance of our servers, which we've actually calculated isn't actually that much with Google Cloud Service. It's not actually as big as we thought.
So it's about 20 to 25K for the house, between 2 to 5K for the server cost, and we plan to spend money on advertising between 5 to 10,000.
Because we really want to reach that 75,000 by next year.
So I'm really going to start pushing you now. I'm going to say, so Nick, what are your thoughts? I can tell that you're a difficult housemate back in the day. This could have helped.
I like the concept. I'm just still struggling to get my head round, and I liked your response. It's definitely the audit trail. But for me, I think it's still too much of a stretch. And I think that I'm not sure I want to be promoting housemates talking and communicating even less with each other.
It's not less, it's like less of the bad stuff, more of the good stuff.
Right. Touche. I'm going to sit on the fence for a bit longer. I need to think about that.
All right, let's pass the microphone to Sonia.
Really like you guys. I think you had a very energetic pitch. I did play around with Cluttr, and I thought the app worked very well versus this flatastic sphere.
Thank you.
From my sharing, I do actually see the subtlety of leaving a message on the app, and so it's not I didn't remind you to take out the rubbish. The app did. So I see a use for it. What I'm struggling with a bit is just how you're going to make money from it. The commission, there's a very small sample you did, £30 of transactions, but I just don't see that. I think people would rather pay themselves through Revolut or do a share somewhere outside of the app for settling bills between them, and then which leaves your revenue source as advertising. Is that
is
the
correct.
plan? Yeah.
So I actually have there's one question I did mean to ask. Have you actually modelled what the growth would look like using viral growth models? I don't know how to say that exactly, but you know what I mean. It's in other words, because I mean your growth could look like that if people really get hooked on the thing.
Yeah. So you can say
and at that point, people don't really care about making money.
No.
Yeah. So you can say our projection for next year is a bit modest because we actually used the linear growth model to predict that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that's kind of.
But in actual fact, it's actually going to be an exponential growth. But we haven't actually modeled how that's going to grow yet. But as Boateng says, one housemate brings us 3 housemates, and when those move on the next year. They're probably going to bring us, each of them will bring us 3 housemates individually too on average.
This means that if we were paying for ads, for example, our user acquisition wouldn't be £1, it would be 25 pence, for example. So we'd be saving a lot more on ad revenue.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that, and you might not even need, if it really is that compelling, you may not even need ads, and as I said, at that point, there are some people in the world who wouldn't really care about whether you're making money or not. It's just as long as you're acquiring active users, they're just,
The fence is becoming a very crowded place.
We're on the fence. Andy's on the fence.
I am on the fence, but I tell you why I am on the fence. I'm thinking, I think it's great, and I do have concerns about the commercial model as well. Although maybe you can work that out over time. What I'm thinking, and the thought process going through my mind is the 3 of you there. What if 2 of you got jobs at Google? And 1 of you carried on doing this. I mean, you're shaking your head. I mean, is that not a business funding model that could work?
Working at Google, I don't know about Boateng, but it doesn't really excite me in terms of the long run. We have so much excitement for this. We've been working on this for a long time, and we haven't even thought about full-time employment. This is
I think the point was that you could work at Google. You wouldn't need to take those salaries. I think that was the point.
Yeah, the point I was making it. Well, exactly. I mean, what I kind of feel is like I'm not sure I want to invest that cash just to pay you, your living costs for the next couple of years or a year or something like that. And that maybe, but having said that, I think you're very, you're clearly very experienced in building apps. And maybe there's a different model that sort of says, I don't know, we create, Southampton's best app development company. This is a good use case, but then you do other things as well, because I think you shouldn't just rely on this funding you get for this to take as salary, I don't think.
So it's not just for salary. Of course, one is to actually get a house, which is also our workspace for working in, and then our server cost and advertising cost. We're actually not going to use that for salary because most of us have savings from our previous internships. And also about working, Tuna actually rejected a job from Google to do Cluttr full-time, even though we don't have investment yet. So we are fully committed to taking Cluttr further, regardless of what.
Very committed. I'm going to really push you now. It's going to get quite... Guys, who have we got? Sonia. Let's see if there's a decision to be made. Interested? Not interested? In? Out?
Yeah. So how many active users you have now? Like 1,000?
That's the current number of users. We have around 400 to 500 active users, daily active users.
Yeah. So, and you. Sorry, I'm still on the fence clearly, but I'm wondering if we could see user growth for longer.
This user growth we have right now, we haven't really encouraged it. Most of our users right now, we ask them, how did you find us? They said, we were looking for this, and we searched on the App Store. We've been working full-time on the app, trying to get the app to the level that it is at right now, so then we can start pushing more for marketing. But for the last, since January, we haven't focused on marketing, and all the user growth we've had has all been organic.
And one more thing is that recently, from the past 2 weeks, actually, we've seen that every house that has been created actually has almost a full house. I mean, having 3 to 4 users to 5 users, it's not singular houses or singular users. That actually, for the past 20 houses, it's just been almost fully booked.
It's just not getting anywhere, are we?
Yeah,
Come on, guys.
I'll get off the fence for now in the out camp. Depending, yeah, and then
the out camp, depending on with the option of getting back in. All right, Nick. Chris, should we get? Do you want a microphone? Yeah.
So I think I'm pretty interested in getting in, and I'm just trying to think through in my head, how, what that ought to be worth comparing with a couple of other things that I've done. And I'm also interested in seeing if anybody else around there is kind of interested.
Lots of people on the fence there.
I'm sort of slowly getting off the fence in Chris's direction, but slowly, because I think, well, to come back to, I made the point already, I won't make it again, but think it needs a little bit more like refinement about how the three of you are going to all. I don't get what you all. It sounds like you're all doing the same thing, and I don't get that, and I don't see how kind of three of you necessarily can make it like 3 times as good. You know what I mean? So maybe 2 of you could be doing something entirely new, and I don't mind investing in that if we can agree together what that's going to be. Well, one of you does this, and then so I think there's something. You know, I think the 3 of you together are a good proposition. But it's, yeah.
Yeah, so we actually have a proposition, not a proposition, in the sense that we actually have been working on something on the side. It's a, and I personally, I personally forwarded this campaign, which during Christmas, and it basically was a landlord integration feature. So essentially, you would just put your send your landlord your code for your house, and similar, a landlord would have multiple codes, obviously, and then on the landlord feature, they would have a list of all the Cluttr houses they own. Now, if a landlord wanted to visit any Cluttr house, they would simply send a notification, and everyone on Cluttr would get a notification saying, you're getting a visit today. And also, every problem you wanted to submit, you do it through Cluttr. It would go straight to the landlord, and they would message you through our messaging service. And what we were thinking of doing was a paid subscription service to the landlords. We know that they want to pay for it because Boateng and I currently live in a 23 flat. Well, it's 23 flats, but we've been in discussions with the landlord, and they would be very interested in something like this.
That has to be enough, surely, to push you firmly into the yes side. Well, I'm really going to push you now because Sophie's going to start madly waving a torch around at the top of the room in a minute. Yeah, audience interaction. I mean, you can start chanting invest if you like. That might help. Go on. The tension is great, isn't it? The pressure. You could... Right, should we do some raucous clapping just to create a point? Come on, let's give him a big... Come on, guys. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
So what's the situation?
Well, we are ready to do a deal. And we're all 4 of us are in on this deal. And we may bring another investor on board as well, okay? But we like the landlord feature, by the way. And actually, I know, because I've spoken to some housing associations, that they want to develop this kind of feature as well for their tenants, actually, so that they can report, issues and so on. So maybe you could build something there. But also, as well as that, we want you to do other work as well, right? Because we can bring other work for other brands to the business, okay? And Cluttr is a good case study that we can use to get more business in. So, all that being said.
First of all, I guess, would you guys be up for that? So developing Cluttr more, but also working on other app projects?
So what they're saying is they're investing in you, or they're proposing investing in you, not necessarily just the entity of Cluttr.
We agree with this.
So
you normally do that thing where you turn around and make sure that they're happy as well.
So the thing I think that the 4 of us feel is that, I can just think of so many things, so many places we can take this, because the landlord connection thing, as I said, there was an app a couple of years ago which didn't really go anywhere because I don't think the team were maybe as strong as you are. And I can see connections. I have another company that actually is into kind of like more kind of like commercial retail real estate, where mapping is a big part of it. But I recall that mapping it was actually quite a big part of the landlord connection. So that because then you can get into the rental stream, you can get into the thing where the people you're finding the people. So the landlord can rent next year, but then the people want to see the photos of the house and this sort of thing. So I can see so many, angles that are based around the group of people and the group of people on one hand, which is a kind of like a transitory thing, but also the the fixed thing, which is actually the property. And then if you can start to get into there, I can also see quite a lot of things. So I think, you know, I think we all around the table bring lots of skills to you, and Andy's going to then tell you how much we
The
want.
numbers. This is an exciting moment. You're killing me here. Come on.
Okay, so we're prepared to, as a group, invest the 50K, but we'd want 40% of the company.
Do you want to turn around?
Can we reconvene in a second?
Yeah. This is serious stuff, isn't it? I mean, looking at the two sides of the room here, there's some serious negotiations going on here, and this is what we love about Dragon's Den, just these moments. And no doubt you're all discussing as well, what would you do? What deal would you do? Here they come. Okay.
So yeah, we've come to a decision. We're doing some mental maths with help from a questionnaire, and they've suggested that we go for a divisible by 4 number. So we were thinking 32% for 50K.
That's a pretty good counter-offer, I think.
Oh, did you say 5 investors? Sorry. Right.
We could just use a calculator. That's another way of...
Okay, we can do that. We'll agree. It's a 32%. Well done.
Hooray!